Hey, what's up, guys? If you got an issue with a battery that goes dead overnight, in this video I'm gonna show you how to fix that issue, basically by performing the parasitic battery drain test, in which you use your multimeter to measure the amperage that's drawn from the battery itself. Before we start measuring anything, there are a few things that I gotta mention. First thing is you will need a multimeter to measure the amperage. You also gotta make sure that none of the components in your car are turned on. That includes like dome lights, radio, or anything like that. Also, some cars do take a little while to fully go into sleep, which means that they need like 5, 10, or in some cases 20 minutes to basically turn off all of the components like radio or ventilation system or whatever. So before you start measuring for amperage, make sure that your car is basically in the sleep mode. Before we go any further, let's just go over the few basics when it comes to amperage measurements. Acceptable amperage drain is 0.05 amps or 50 milliamps. In some cases 70 milliamps or drain is allowed. That goes for luxury cars that have more components and bigger batteries. So if this is our battery right here, we're gonna connect our multimeter to one side of the of our component, in this case the light bulb. Think of your multimeter as a piece of wire that could basically measure the amperage. You should always connect it to the negative side so you won't create a short if you touch anything that's basically grounded on your car. You can also measure it from positive side, but I honestly do not recommend that because as I mentioned, you can create a short if you touch the grounded part of your car. Let's see how our illustration translates into real life situation. As you can see right here, we are powering the H7 headlight bulb through these two wires, and we're gonna check for amps. Take your positive lead from your multimeter and put it into the amperage slot. Turn the main selector to amperage measurement. Okay, we got negative lead connected to the negative side of the battery. We're gonna turn on our multimeter and we're gonna select the DC. As you can see, there's a symbol right there. We're gonna take our positive lead from our multimeter and we're gonna connect it to the other side of the light bulb. As you can see right here, we got 3.3 amps of current, and that is basically it. That's the simplest way of amperage measurement. Now we're gonna use this same principle to measure the amperage draw from our car battery. Before we start measuring anything, we have to make sure that all of the components on our car are off. The problem we got right here is that our fuse box is located under the dash inside the car, and we gotta open the door. When we open the door, the dome light will activate, and it will be on. Here's our fuse box right here, and there's our dome light that we gotta turn off. To do this, you gotta look for the door switch around the door frame, or if you are doing this on any modern car, they are basically using the electric lock to figure out if the door is closed or not. As you can see right here, there is no door switch on this car. We're gonna take this Phillips screwdriver and we're gonna close the lock, tricking the car into thinking that the door is basically closed. And as you can see right here, the dome light just turned off. Now before we measure for amperage draw, we gotta make sure that we got a fully charged battery. If you played with the amperage measurements, make sure that you put the positive multimeter lead back in its place for voltage measurements. Put the negative lead on the negative side of the battery. Okay, here it is. Put the positive multimeter lead on the positive side of the battery, and let's see what voltage we got. We got 12.5 volts, and that's enough to do the proper amperage test. We're gonna take our negative battery cable off. As I mentioned before, you can do the battery parasitic draw on the positive side as well, but I do not recommend that, since you could create a short if you touch anything on your car that's grounded. So it's always better to do it from the negative side. As you can see right here, I've connected the positive multimeter lead to the negative cable, and I've connected the negative multimeter lead to the battery by using the clamp. Also, make sure you move the positive lead to the amperage measurement and turn the selector to the amperage. Also, make sure you select the DC on your multimeter. We got 1.2 amps of current draw approximately. We're gonna start pulling out the fuses, and when we see the amperage drop on our multimeter, we'll find the component that draws the amperage overnight. The fuses on the left side are spare fuses, so we're not gonna mess with them. This is kind of tedious, but we are going one by one until we find the component that's draining our battery. Also, when you put back these fuses, make sure that they are in good so you don't cause any other issues. We got one more row left. If it's not in this row, we're gonna have to check out the fuse box under the hood. But I think that it might be one of these fuses. And here it is. We got a significant amperage drop, and now we're gonna see if that amperage is gonna drop even more. Okay, now we are inside the 50 milliamp range. What I'm gonna do now, I'm gonna put this fuse back in and I'm gonna go and check out which components are powered through this fuse. Okay, it's a 15 amp and it's the second one from the left. I've pulled this fuse box diagram online for Alfa Romeo 147 and we are interested in fuse F39. As you can see right here, it powers numerous things, but I'm gonna go with my instinct and I'm gonna check out the radio first. Now we are gonna pull out the radio. You don't need any special tools. You can actually make these yourself from two wires. Push them inside of these 4 holes and pull the radio out. As you can see right here, we got another 10 amp fuse. I'm gonna pull it out and I'm gonna see what the multimeter tells us. Okay, now that I got the fuse out, let's see what the multimeter is showing. As you can see right here, our multimeter tells us that we are getting 51 milliamps of current draw, which is inside of the acceptable range. And that is basically it. We got faulty radio. I'm not gonna attempt to fix it since it's cheap. I'm just gonna replace it. And that is basically it for this video. If you liked it, please hit like button and support us by subscribing to our channel.